भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। दिवि भूमौ तथाकाशे बहिरन्तश्च मे विभुः यो विभात्यवभासात्मा तस्मै सर्वात्मने नमः। These are the two different concepts that Yoga Vasistha works on. Earlier, what he said about in the last chapter, a couple of sessions that we had looked at, as chitta nasha, and what are the methods of chitta nasha. This is what in also yoga we talk about. Chitta vritti nirodha, chitta nasha, and all that. And here, this time, he gives us the idea of chitta prashamana. This is something which is unique. There it was chitta nasha. Here it is chitta prashamana. What is the difference between chitta nasha and chitta prashamana is, chitta nasha is you remove the chitta completely so that you become one with the source itself, Brahman. So that you are the Brahman yourself, and that's what to start with, that's what you go back into. Vritti is something which is in between. Vritti nirodha, swarupe avasthanam, as Patanjali puts it. Get back to swarupa, get back to yourself. But whereas he says here chitta prashamana, as a next step that he brings us, the idea is, there's one very subtle idea about it is, in chitta prashamana, chitta is not something which is bad. We use the chitta for purposes, but at the same time, we will be able to have an idea of prashamana, and then you are able to involve in the activity and then go to the source wherever it is necessary. That means to say it is more like you are managing at both the sides, which normally very strangely that the sannyasis or Vedanta parampara, etc., do not subscribe to that idea. But whereas here he brings about that idea, and this also part of, if you look at it carefully, it's the part of that same. Earlier, what we said is the Vita Havya. Vita Havya, I said last time, I was giving the idea about Vita Havya is that Havya means activity. Then we know about Vitaraga, Vitadvesha, these are the things that we have heard. That means individually various components of the mind that we are trying to cover. But Vita Havya means the whole activity involved in that itself that you cover. That is the most important aspect of it, Vita Havya, that we have taken as an entirety that we try to work with that. While working with the entirety, that earlier that we looked at the idea of what is called as chitta nirmulana, but this time it is like chitta shanti, or the quenching of the or calming of the mind, chitta prashamana. So this is what is the idea now he brings about. Then Sri Rama asks, and in this particular adhyaya itself, that this idea comes about, what do you call it as vasana? That was the today's title of the title that I have given, that vasanasa prakirtita. That means to say, this is known as the vasana. Now we have accepted vasana, but what is that vasana is something which he goes into more useful detail in this particular thing. Let's what we see, the idea about that. Sri Rama Uvacha, Rama says in the chapter, it is the 19th chapter, Chitta Prashamana chapter, from the essence of Yoga Vasistha. And he says, Rama Uvacha, Brahman samskriti mudvika lataya vitata krutehe kim bijam tasya kim bijam bija tasya kim bhavet. Here it will say, what is the seed or the primary cause of the the whole creeper that is there, of the worldly existence. Worldly existence is like a creeper which is constantly stretching itself, which has spread out its form, the body. What is the cause of this? That means what is the seed of that, and what is the origin even of that seed? What is that seed is born from? Because it's first time that the seed has to be born. So what is that seed born from? So therefore Vasistha replies to that saying that Samsruti vratatehe bijam shariram vidhi raghava bijamasya sharirasya chittam ashavashanugamam. Hey Raghava, he says, no, the body as the cause of the creeper of worldly existence. This body itself is the thing which is the creeper of existence. And one of the moments and the origin of the body is mind, following the influence of the desire or the vasana. Now, asha vashanugamat, vasha anugamat. So it is following that vasha. That means to say, desire itself is the one, asha is the one that prompts this particular body. This is a very totally different thought from the Western thought. Western thought has been that the body is there and we are born and all that, then the consciousness goes into, and then the world gives us to develop all these particular ideas of involvement in the world is the one which brings about the desires, etc., all those things. Whereas the way that Indian philosophy looks at is that we already have these asha within us. That means desire and the vasana that we carried, and then samskriti vratate bijam shariram vidhi raghava. That means know that the body is the cause of this particular creeper. That means whatever that comes into this world and existence, worldly existence, and origin of this particular body is the seed, and that seed is supposed to be the mind, and the mind is in the influence of the desire. So desire is the cause. Now that's obviously gives us the idea where this desire come about. When we are not even born, where does the desire come about? That means to say, you are not born in this particular life, it may not be there, but then you are somebody who is continuing naturally. That means this body, as long as that is there, you are here. Otherwise, that you are not in this body. Previously also, you are not in this. You did not have this body, but something else is there. Now, from that, you only shape this kind of thing. Your desires only shape this kind of thing. It's like the way that wave goes back and then another wave comes up. And where is that energy for that wave is coming from? It is coming from that same wave which has gone, but that energy just brings about another wave. Water may be different and the size and shape, etc., may be different. Location may be different, but then the wave is again that rebirth. This is what even Bhagavad Gita also that we talk in the 8th chapter that it gives about the other day I was talking about. Exactly the same way here also, what happens is that there is, we go and then we carry whatever that is there. That's why this particular life, this life is an investment for the next life. So now it is up to us what we need to invest, what we need to gather in this life. It becomes like a seed. We can come back in the next life, or whatever that in this life that we are paying is nothing but whatever that we gathered in the previous life. The characters may be different, the situation may be different, parentage may be different, so location may be different, but the forces are something which are always there, and that is what we carried with us. So therefore, that the origin of this body is the mind, and following the influence of this desire, as guided by this desire, that's how best we go. Now, what happens is that we always either blame the outside world for our disturbances, or we blame the God. Why he gave me this? Why he made me like this? Why he made me to follow like this? We always have something or the other to blame. In fact, that's what this morning also in satsang I was talking about, saying that Vishada everybody will have it. Everybody goes through suffering there. But then nobody's Vishada has become yoga. Only Arjuna's Vishada has become yoga. Why it has become yoga? Because basically everybody else, whenever there is a sadness that is there, melancholy or misfortune, whatever it is there, we always blame the world outside. We blame God, we blame mother, we blame this, we blame that. And we blame the either the wife or husband or the parents, because of parents. That's why we are here, because the mother that have become like this, the father that became like this. Once this one girl came here for therapy, and then that girl was telling me that she was said that you know what, my whole life has been simply completely ruined, and that was the case. I said, why? Because you see, my father wanted that I should become a engineer, so he put me, because I was good in maths, so wanting to put me into engineering. But my mother vehemently opposed him. Said she should become a doctor because she is intelligent. But then my brother came and said, no, she has to become a scientist. That's what was the idea. And then my friends, colleagues said, what is this? That, you are so, this thing, so you should join us together. We all should go to the last college, so we should go to the last. So all these things. So then finally she said, but then I wanted to become a designer. So what to do? See, everybody pushed me in every direction. So that's why basically my career has been completely ruined by all these people. So that's why I'm into depression. I said, I'll give you a trick. By becoming one, you become everything. Like in Upanishad, it says that jnatva sarvamidam jnatam bhavati. By knowing one, you know everything. I said, what is that, uncle? She asked me. I said, you become an actor. An actor can become a doctor, politician, an actor become a lawyer, everything you become. So you become an actor. But anyway, that opened up, that like the breaking the ice that makes her to feel that comfortable with me and all. That is psychologically, that's a very good way of handling the things. That was a nice thing. But the idea is that we always blame the world outside for our these things. There is though the situations may be different and all those things are different. But the vasana is something which is there behind all these things. See, it's not the question of you are becoming as one thing or the other. It is the vasana which is actually guiding us, which is driving us. Your own desire, that's what is guiding you. So that's what he says, that bija is that vasana. So bijamasya sharirasya chittam asha manusha anugamat. Then dve bije chitta vrukshasya vritti vratati dharanaha ekam. Now this is dve bija. That there are two different kind of bija that is there, or the seed that is there. There are two origins for this tree of mind. Mind has got two origins, and vritti vratati dharanaha, bearing the creeper of thought. Vritti dharanaha or vritti vriksha dharanaha. That's what is the way it holds on to. And one is the ekam prana parispandaha. One is the prana, movement of prana. That's one thing. And dvitiyam, drinda bhavana. The second one is the firm imagination or firm holding that you don't have flexibility. You are just holding on to one particular thing and going ahead. Now, these are the two things that are there which it gives. One, the prana spandana is the way that it is one aspect of it which is connected with the prana. The second thing is about the mind. And drinda bhavana, that's what is the mind. Rigidity, that's what is the thing. In fact, what happens is that as the man becomes older and older, there is even the medical science says that you become more and more rigid. the idea of rigidity is that not being able to take the challenge, not be able to experiment with the thing. Whereas a young mind is something which can experiment with that. It does not mean that taking risk the idea, but the idea is to see that innovative openness. See, that's one of the things why we say today that this generation gap is nothing basically, but only thing is that your framework in which that the world that you lived in, and then you try to impose that on the younger generation. They are in a different world altogether. You don't give them the freedom, you don't allow them to look in the world in the way their own eyes. If you only allow them to look at the world in their own eyes, and only thing is that behind that, what are the caution that we need to give, but then allow them to look at their own eyes, then the world will be better. Because I always keep saying that the future world belongs to you, not us, because we are already on the path of decline, going back. But you are the people who are going to shape. You take any help of our experience and something like that, that's fine. We are ready to give. But only thing is that I don't want to interfere with your experimentation with this world. Because it's usually that happens with the older generation is they want to push their ideas onto the youngsters. I said, they dress like what we say and then you behave like the way that what you have. That's so difficult because the world is changing. The world that what we have seen is totally different world what they are seeing. And in small little simple things that you can find it, the value of the money that we had is totally different from the value of the money which they have it. Yeah, it is so much of a change, so much of a difference it is. And we try to impose our values that you spend so much. They laugh at you. They said that, look, I'm not going to outing with you. I'm not going to go outing with my friends. And every friend will tell the parents. Because that's what it is all about. The story is totally different. So therefore, basically he says that what happens is, this is one aspect of it, that's what is the desire, look at the second thing is prana. Prana spandate, prana parispando dvitiyam drida bhavana. So no drida bhavana, that means to say you just have a flexibility of your mind, openness of your mind, but at the same time that you have the prana spandana, that means in the right direction, right way that it could give. And when you have these two things, then it's an openness. Otherwise, these are the things which form in the form of vasana within us. One is the prana spandana, prana parispandana, and then the drida bhavana. These are the things, these are the bija, these are the seeds for which, and that grows into the form of chitta vrikshasya vritti vratati dharanaha. Yada praspandate pranaha nadi samsparshanodhyataha. Before that, going into that, I would like to say this another thing is that the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, he only looked at this perspective of human being. Human being is made of two different kind of forces or energy that is there. If you look at yourself, if you close yourself, what are you when you look at it? You are an activity, and that's what the whole creation is all about. Everything is. In fact, what we call it in this world, jada, ajada, that means say whatever that is, moving and non-moving kind of a thing. Both these things in a sense that they are moving only. Like for example, what you think of a stone, it's also undergoing the change. So not only the wind which is flowing, the river which is flowing, but even the stone is also undergoing a change in its soul self, and there is a tremendous amount of movement inside the stone. When you come to the smallest level of stone, that is what is atom, and further when you go to the electron level, you see the tremendous speed with which electrons moving inside the stone atom also. So that means to say there's a tremendous amount of speed that's also going on. Only thing is you are not watching it, you are not able to see that. It's not only the river flowing, but the stone is also undergoing that change. In fact, that change is the essence of the creation itself. The change, movement is the essence of the creation itself. And that's what when you look at that small little atom level or the electron level where this tremendous amount of movement is going on. And that, what is the speed at which electrons are going? This is the speed of light it goes on. So that's what is Einstein's idea. The speed of light is moving, that means it's not an ordinary speed, it's a tremendous amount of speed. Just because that your eyes do not perceive that, it does not mean that speed is not there. So this is what our people said, whether it is chara, achara, whatever it is there, it's constantly undergoing a change. Therefore, it is not the Brahman. It's not Nitya, it is not Satya, it is not permanent. This is what our philosophy always said. I don't know how our people had an idea about that particular thing. And in fact, that's what in the 8th chapter that I was talking about. He says, even abrahma bhuvanal lokat punaravartin, all these things undergo a change and then they come back. Rebirth is there even for Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara and all those things. So that means to say, basically, this change is something which is there in the nature itself. And what does not change is, so therefore, basically, this, whatever that changes, whatever the change going on, it is because of this prana. So Patanjali gives us that one aspect because of which the whole, what we think of, idea of us, the world that is vritti in between, it is in the form of prana, and other is in the form of chitta. Chitta is the mind stuff. Chitta is the mind stuff where it has got intellect, emotion, what is that, analysis, everything it is there, it is supposed to be chitta area. The domain of chitta, the domain of prana. And then in prana we have all these things, prana, pana, vyana, udana, samana. All these, minor pranas are also there. All those things are there in activity that's going on. So therefore prana, and that's in the form of prana spanda. Spanda means actually movement. So therefore basically, yada praspandate pranaha, now this spandana that is there in the prana, it moves through the nadis throughout the system. It is, or what is called as that where the prana moves, we call it as nadi. It's not that inside that there is something, there is some nadis and through which the prana is flowing, but the way that prana flows, we call it as nadi. It is the other way around. So essentially, similarly, where the chitta activity is going on, that's what is another activity that's going on. These are the two activities. One, prana, very clearly, one thing is that prana activity is which is guided towards outside. Chitta activity is guided towards inside. That means like I see something, immediately the message goes inside, and where the central unit is there, which is supposed to be mind, and then it takes it and then takes the information, compares with the memory, and then it says that whatever that you are seeing is the same what you have seen yesterday or something like that. All that arrangement activity that's going on, the space where all these things is going on is supposed to be chitta. And then whatever that's going on about the prana activity or the nadis which are doing an activity is supposed to be the prana. This is what Patanjali's idea. That's why in Patanjali Yoga Sutras he never mentioned about physical body and all that is not there in his mind. It's only we have created that, that asanas and all that, and elaborately we wrote the whole book of text of asanas. Okay, all right, you do all those things. I don't mind it. I don't care. But then ultimately, all right, you want to get out of body, chitta vritti nirodha, I want it. You might, in between, you might give so many stories. I don't want to listen to all those stories. But then vritti nirodha is what I want so that you are in the swarupa. And for that, you might do all this, all the circus that you do it, that you can do it. Yeah, asana and all those things. In asana, you do just, all these things happen, and then the spine, this, that. And then all these diseases can be overcome. He says that disease itself is a disease, that you come out of it. Become ease, that's all the thing. Disease is a disease, that's all. So, yada praspandate pranaha nadi samsparshanodhyataha tada samvedanamayam chittam ashu prajayate. When the prana moves, engages in the contact with the nadis that are there in the body, then the mind consists of the feelings, and the sensation is born quickly. And these two are such an extraordinary, wonderful communicator between the prana and chitta that any information prana gives, chitta immediately responds to that. Such a quick response that you touch something hot, immediately chitta responds saying that take out your hand, that you just pull your hand back.
Yeah.
Without even a gap of a second, it instructs another prana that's supposed to be vyana. It's okay, but then it makes it to come out of your hand. You don't even know that chitta is reacting. You don't even recognize that chitta is reacting, but then the prana coordinates, sends information, gets information, reacts to all those things even before you realize. It's like the way that a tabla artist, like Zakir Hussain, when he's playing tabla, you don't know which finger is hitting where, but the melody is something what comes out of it. What an amount of expertise that must have really gotten that kind of thing. He doesn't even look at that where he has to see. And ಸತ್ಸಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ಯುಸಿ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ. So therefore, that is one aspect of it. Similarly, chitta also immediately sends some signal to the prana. That means to say, basically, when something which is for chitta, it is not acceptable, mind, immediately it sends the message to prana. Like, for example, you're angry with somebody, immediately you see that eyes become red, face becomes red, hands start shaking. That's what happened to Arjuna's case. So this chitta and prana, there is such a close connection with that, with all these nadis and activity that is there. He says that the channels between that, these two, the channels through which it flows, and then the chitta, the way that it influences all that, these are it operates through nervous and the other channels of the body so quickly, so immediately, they are so connected with that. Sati sarva samasamvit pranaspandena bodhita samvedyam adaratyanti tato dukkhani chetasaha. Consciousness existing wholly, even unmoved, aroused by the movement of prana, proceeds towards what is fit to be perceived on account of the attention, the desire, then arises sorrow in the mind. See, the whole idea is that now this, the consciousness which is working in the form of prana and also in the form of chitta, these two things are there. Now what happens is that the way that the consciousness itself is peaceful, it is quiet, but only thing is that the prana which is moving in this body and perceives and goes into that, where the chitta instructs that. Chitta says you go there and see that this is white, and the prana sees it as white. And prana sees whatever it is and then sends